Welcome back, everybody, to the Sharpshooter Sports Talk. I am your humble and gracious host, Mr. Brinsky Shaw, on the ones, the twos, the threes, fours, and the fives, and the six. Got a special show for you guys tonight, man. Whole lot of Bama talk, whole lot of SEC talk, all that good stuff. So definitely appreciate everybody coming in. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button, of course. Definitely appreciate you guys being in here. But before we get into the nitty gritty, of course, got to introduce my guys and then introduce our guy, who's our special guest tonight. But of course, my dog, former Alabama A&M running back, the man with the master plan, one of the most underrated people on these YouTube streets. Our guy, your friend, Coach Sean.
Much love to everybody, man, and thank you to my brother Brinsky, my homeboy Tez, and our special guest, brother. I got a lot of respect for. Much love.
Oh yeah, man. And of course, y'all already know he's David Ruffin of it all. He gets a gold mic, don't know how to act, go missing for shows, but show up out of nowhere. The man with the master plan. Y'all see he's in space. Everybody's favorite Auburn fan. My main man, Tez.
How y'all doing, man? How y'all doing? just happy to be here, man. Thank you for having me. Of course, I'm here with Coach Sean, man, ready to hear some of that knowledge and special guest, man. This should be an interesting one.
And of course, everybody, somebody that we literally every single episode.
Yep.
One of the guys that we truly, truly respect in this game, in this business overall. We say his name all the time. Give him a shout out for everything that he's doing and going to continue to do. And I'm just glad to say we all know him. Our guy he's an Alabama football analyst for Cover Crimson. Our main man, Clint Lamb. What's going on, Clint?
How y'all doing? Are y'all ready for football season? Man, I'll tell you what, man. SEC Media Day starts on Monday, and I guess most people view it this way, but once that kicks off, it's football season. I mean, fall camp's around the corner. It's time to start talking X's and O's and start getting ready for the season opener against Florida State, which is obviously going to be a lot better covering leading up to compared to some of the recent season openers. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it for sure.
Ooh, and trust me, man, when we get down to that nitty gritty, when we start talking about that, I want everybody to you have an idea when we start talking about SEC media days. My favorite day is already planned, but I'm gonna save it towards the end. But we're gonna get right into it because Clint, man, you've been dropping videos on it. You've been covering like crazy Alabama recruiting, man. Well, we can just talk about player after player, man, for real. Like, Coach Sean, which one you want to start with? It don't matter any player you want to go with.
Man, if you start talking about players, you can't go nowhere else but the man under center. I need to ask Clint, bro. I want to know from Clint. Clint probably has put his eyes on these guys much more than we have down there. Clint, when you saw these guys down there, bro, what does it look like in person, man? What does it look like in person? How is Ty in person? How is Keelon looking in person? I went to A-Day last year, but I didn't get a chance to go to this past one. I had a death in the family, man. When you see these guys up close and personal, what does it look like with Ty, man? I'm really anxious to know what Ty looked like.
I think he's got a great command of the offense. I think through some of his early career struggles, and by struggles, I mean in practice, obviously he didn't get many game opportunities, but he had to learn to play the next play. Right. I think I wouldn't say that the highs were too high with him. I think he was pretty good on that front, but I think the lows were a little too low, and he would let stuff linger. And that was really, I mean, he was starting to figure out the offense. He knew where to go with the football, but every once in a while, you're just going to make a mistake, especially when you're going against the kind of talent that he was in practice every day. Thanks. But he just couldn't move past the mistakes. And that was something that I will say a couple of years ago when Bryce Young got injured and people were wondering if he was going to play against Tennessee. There was, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was some rumbles or some rumors that maybe, Ty Simpson could get an opportunity as well. But the thing that I kept being told is he's got to be able to move past those mistakes, and he's been able to do that now. It is next play, good or bad. Stack as many of those good plays as you can, move the offense down the field. But I think his skill set really meshes with what they want to do. I think he can distribute the football. He can kind of play point guard, but also he's good. He's good when he's, things are breaking down around him, but he's also good kind of in structure as well. I think that's been a huge learning point for him compared to in high school. I thought he played a little bit too backyard, agent
running around
in high school. Yeah. And so he that's something else. I think him getting to sit and learn without things going live. I think he was able to break some of those bad habits. So I think that should benefit him, but he's athletic enough to make plays. And I certainly think he's going to make a lot of them with his legs, but I think a little bit more consistency as far as the passing game, which I think is going to make it a much more consistent offense.
Thanks. Love that, man.
Yeah, man. What do you think about Keelon right now?
I mean, I tell people all the time, the thing that I will say about him is he does probably one or two things every practice that I've seen, which was only two, and there was periods of it. And then the 8-day practice. So I've only really got to see my eyes on him live 3 times.
Yeah.
But in every single one of them, he would do bare minimum 1, if not 2, things where you're sitting there telling yourself, just nobody. I mean, there's not many guys out there who can do that. There's the flick of the wrist, man. I mean, great arm talent doesn't have to be. Granted, I mean, I do think, obviously you're going to be a better thrower when your mechanics are on point and your timing is on point, but his ability to throw off platform, I wouldn't say he's like the best on the move thrower necessarily, but I just think that he can navigate the pocket well and he can deliver the football. And I mean, he's got some athleticism. So, I mean, the talent is off the charts. When you talk about a Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb quarterback, this is exactly the guy that they covet. And so I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do. And I will say, I don't know for sure that Ty Simpson is going to be the starter for the entirety of the season. I think that's going to be the case. I mean, I'm very confident in his ability, but we're just going to take this one game at a time and just see how it goes, because I think as Keelon gets a little bit more comfortable and confident operating Alabama's offense, and some of those freshman, miscues that were happening in the spring start to dwindle a little bit, and you're seeing, they're few and far between, he's going to get that much more dangerous. And so I don't want to rule that kind of talent out ever. But I will say that I just think Alabama's quarterback room as a whole is in a really healthy place right now.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah, man. And especially right now, man, we see, I know Coach Sean did a video giving the coaching staff a lot of credit for what they're doing on the recruiting trail, especially us pointing out a lot of individuals like Christian Robinson and Coach Shep. Man, how are they doing? Like, what is your opinion on how they handling recruiting right now? Because they are just on fire.
It's crazy.
We'll find out on August 1st, right? That's what everybody keeps saying. That's been one of the side point. That's been one of the wildest. I understand where the logic comes into play as far as, you're not doing too great. You're trying to figure out, okay, how can I, to take a little pressure. If we can get to the season, then, hey, when things start going right for us on the field, maybe we can get some more booster backing. Maybe we can start working on flipping some of these guys. So I understand it from their standpoint, but when it comes to Alabama staff, their ability to connect with recruits, and it is this the relationship building. It starts with Kalen DeBoer because he's been able to do that everywhere he's gone. And there's a reason that people like Nick Sheridan get demoted and they want to stay on staff because they trust Kalen DeBoer. And Nick Sheridan is very confident at some point his loyalty to Kalen DeBoer is going to pay off. And I personally think at some point, don't know when that'll be, should Ryan Grubb choose to move on, whether it be a year from now, 2 years from now, 3, 5, whatever it ends up being, I think Nick Sheridan kind of is being groomed now to be his replacement. But, the loyalty from the coaches to Kalen DeBoer, but also they've learned from that. It's a when you have that kind of loyalty and those types of relationships, and it is everywhere throughout your building, recruits are going to feel that. And I think that's been a huge selling point is they believe in where Keelon DeBoer is taking the program. You've got offensive and defensive systems that are fun to play in. You know, if you're a defensive back, why would you not want to go play in that vision-oriented defense where you're able to break on the football, make plays, do a lot of those different things? I mean, if you're an edge, if you're a wolf, Justin Hill, they'll put your versatility on display. You know, a guy like Xavier Griffin, perfect example. You just watch what they did with Jahad Campbell. You know, that's a system that you want to go play in. You'll get some opportunities to get after the quarterback off the edge. You'll have some opportunities to play some off-ball linebacker, which will only help as far as the NFL showing off your versatility. So it's like I just think it's a good combination of factors. They are, if from everything that I've been told, they are able to stay in the ballpark with a lot of these N.I.L offers. They're very respectable on that front, but they're also not playing the bidding game war. You know, they're not interested in guys who are just in it for the N.I.L because you might secure a great player, but what are you costing yourself from a culture standpoint? And so I just think they got a great plan. The allotment that they have for certain positions is very NFL-esque, where they're kind of looking out and saying, okay, these are the positions that we need to prioritize the most. This is how we need to attack it. This is the styles of player that we need. And they've just got a very detailed plan that they're executing to perfection. And Courtney Morgan, I don't want to forget about him because he has been a massive part of that as well.
Oh, you can go ahead, Coach. My fault.
Man, listen, I want to know what you think about this, Clint. This is important to me, man. I know when I watched Grubb at Washington, when I watched him at Seattle, obviously we know the pro game. I talked about this in one of my videos. Obviously, the pro game is a little different, hash mark wise, space wise, right? When you look back at the college game, all I really had to go on of late is just their Washington tape. And now, while Alabama's a different team, different personnel, you know how it is when you're a coordinator. Every coordinator has this little crux of stuff they like to do. You know, you try to fit you try to make the square peg into a round hole as much as you possibly can, you know, without changing, without just uprooting everything, you know. And these guys, I really, really, really like the fact when they was at Washington, their route combos, their route tendencies, if you will. A lot of horizontal stretches, man, a lot of creating space, a lot of manipulating two safety high. Do you think they'll be able to do that with the receiving core we have, with the offensive line we have? And more importantly, do you think Ty Hayes, why do I keep calling Ty Simpson Ty Hayes? Why do I do that? I've called him Ty Hayes 3 times, man. Ty, wherever you at, I love you, brother. Ty Simpson. Do you think Ty is do you think he has the tools, man, to I guess to really operate within this offense, man? Hitches, seams, flats, crossers. Do you think Ty has the skill set to operate within this offense? And do you think Grubb is going to do some of the things he did at Washington?
Yeah, I think one of the important elements of Ty Simpson's game is I thought coming out of high school, the accuracy and the ball placement were both really good. You know, and I thought a lot of it was mechanical, but like Jalen Milroe this past season, one of the things that I noticed is, now granted, there's certain situations or certain times where it's not that receivers aren't set up to generate yardage after the catch, but the timing routes and things like that, I just didn't see too many opportunities for guys to create yardage after the catch. And I thought with where Keelon DeBoer kind of wanted to take the wide receiver room, get more size, more length, be able to press defenses vertically down the field more with more options. You know, that wasn't what Alabama had last year. They had guys that's like you manufacture, like Kendrick Law, manufacture some touches, figure out ways to get the football in his hands, let him do some stuff. I mean, he's essentially a running back at wide receiver with the physicality. They never really were too comfortable doing that kind of stuff. But, you know, I also think that a lot of the skill sets that you have where it was guys who probably could have generated some yardage after the catch, they weren't giving those opportunities often enough. I think Ty Simpson brings that element. I think he's got enough arm strength. I'm not saying he's got an elite arm, but I think it's above average, and I think he can make all the throws. So there's not going to be an element or an aspect of this offense that they're going to want to run that Ty Simpson's not able to. Now, granted, there were things with Jalen Milroe where he would tell the coaching staff, I'm not super comfortable doing that. And they would kind of take it out. I don't know if there's anything that Ty Simpson's not comfortable with. I guess we'll find out. But he should be, based off of physical traits, able to execute pretty much all of it. And you're right with the seams. And I think Alabama's, pass catch first, tight end one, and Josh Cuevas.
Yes.
Hopefully he continue. He looks like he's gotten even bigger compared to the spring. And I mean, hopefully that helps as far as what they're able to do with him from a blocking standpoint, because that's still a really important element. But as far as unlocking other positions, the tight end, the way that they like to use it, it will create spacing for others. And I just don't feel like that they were able to do that enough this past season because of their limited, the limitations with the block heavy tight end packages that they had. So I think Cuevas having a much bigger role should help. I just think there's a lot of factors playing into this that signal a big step forward, whether it being year 2, him getting back with Ryan Grubb, a quarterback that I think, Jalen Milroe's a great quarterback. I just think operating Kalen DeBoer's and Ryan Grubb's specific system, I think Ty Simpson's probably a better fit, or Keelon Russell, or, if it ends up being Austin Mack, I think all three. But, the offensive line, the returning starters that you've got, the fact that you got a couple of more guys like Wilkin Formby and Geno Vandermark, who got at least one start this past season. You bring in an experienced SEC player in Cam Dewberry. I think the running back room is healthy. The wide receiver room, great combination of skill sets. Really think they're going to be able to take advantage of a lot of those different skill sets. But I just think the entire offense in general is going to be much more in Kalen DeBoer's image, and I think it's going to operate a lot more consistently and a lot more, and a lot smoother, I guess you'd say.
Facts, man. The very thing you talked about, we've talked about more than once on the show, man. And I couldn't agree with you even more, bro. That because a lot of times on third down, man, last year, some of the stuff we did on third downs, I was like, what in the world was that?
Talk about it.
You know what I mean? Especially when it was 3rd and long, like 3rd and 7 or some of that. And we would just do this ridiculous quarterback counter read that we just like, what is that? What?
One of the things, the timing of the offense, they just never could stay on schedule. And it was such a massive.
Oh, Clint, Bleed the Matrix got you. It'll pop on in just a second.
Oh, yeah. It's all good. And of course, yeah, there we go.
There you go.
All right. I heard thunder.
It's all good, man.
I heard thunder through the headphones, and I was like, just don't mess up. Give me an hour, Storm, and then you can take out power, whatever you need to do. But, getting back to like the scheduling of the offense and staying on schedule, I mean, people will point to 2023 with Jalen Milroe, and they'll say because he was very effective, or he was seemingly effective in 3rd and longs. In fact, I would say he was probably better in 3rd and long situations than he was in 3rd and short, which is wild. And I kept telling people that's not sustainable.
Right.
So you can't live.
Yeah.
Correct.
The actual play call itself. Yeah.
Yes.
Fact.
And so, you had a quarterback that I don't think was overly comfortable in 3rd and long situations. Your tackles weren't set up for it. I feel like the play caller, because of the questions or maybe, maybe some of the limitations with the quarterback, I don't know if it was just as inexperienced. He wasn't a comfortable play caller in 3rd and long situations. So for an offense that had all of that, they sure did live in a lot of 3rd and long situations.
Facts.
So like that's something that's got to improve. Stay on schedule. If they can do that, then I think that when it's 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 2, like the entire playbook remains open.
Facts.
You're going to be a lot more successful, and this offense can be a lot more dynamic because it's not just are they going to run or pass. The different various elements that they'll have within their offense, you can throw. It's like the Tennessee 2022 offense. They can throw so many things at you. They can play the numbers game. It's like, hey, you want to pull out of the box? Well, fine, we'll run the football. If you want to pull guys,
space you out.
Absolutely. So I think there's going to be more wrinkles like that where you can just attack.
It'll pop back on, Clint. Don't worry. It's coming, Clint. Give it about 3 seconds, brother. Here it comes. There you go.
The problem is on my end, it's not showing that. So I'm sorry. But anyways, I do think
it's all good, brother.
The offense is in a good place. The offense is definitely
I'm
in
a
a good
fixture
place.
satellite from up here, man.
Can I ask
Don't
you
worry
one
about it.
more
I got you.
thing? This is in behalf of my brother Tez, who's on here, who is our personal Clint favorite Auburn fan. By the way.
I started out the gate back, throwing some shade at Hugh Freeze. I didn't know we had an Auburn fan in here.
It's all good.
Yeah, man,
I
I'd
was
have
gonna
been
get
more
him.
respectful. One thing I'm not going to do is come
No.
on here and bash somebody's other team like when they're sitting right there.
This is actually a
man.
question based off my brother Tez. I know John Mateer is coming for OU. I thought it was interesting that they picked Arnold to go to the SEC Media Day when he's been in Auburn for like 10 seconds. I thought that was interesting.
I think it's a statement. I think as far as like, what a lot of people don't realize, I don't remember exactly what press conference it was. It might have not even been a press conference. It was an interview. But Kalen DeBoer, they were asked about picking a starting quarterback and would he in the spring or would he wait? He mentioned something about the benefits of selecting a quarterback in the spring. And one of the benefits was he's like, you give your team a chance to rally around that guy throughout the summer. And that can be very advantageous. And then he ends up, I think, the perfect combination of you leave the door open for a quarterback battle. You don't officially name a starter, but at the same time, everybody's able to rally around Ty Simpson, and that's exactly what they've done. The reason that I bring all that up when you're asking me about Auburn is to say this is Hugh Freeze's way of saying this is our guy. He's come in. He's been a leader. He's established himself within Auburn's program, and it kind of signals to the rest of the world this guy has stepped up from the jump and been a leader, and it gives his teammates a chance to kind of rally around him as their leader compared to the uncertainty. So while it is, a little bit of a different approach, we probably should have expected it, but I certainly respect it.
Yeah, facts.
And that's why I was just about to get there, because I was about to say we just not gonna ask Clint Alabama questions all night.
Yeah.
So definitely anybody in the chat ask Clint some questions, but I'm gonna kick it to Ted. My fault, Ted.
I was about to say I actually got an Alabama question for Clint, kind of related to Auburn though. When you think about recruiting, you mentioned Courtney Morgan and what he's been able to do at Alabama. As far as what can you speak on like some of the things that he did to prepare for this whole rev share era? Because seemingly you guys are unfazed by it, and it looks like y'all were prepared for it. One thing I can see is last year, it looks like y'all moved on to the 2026 class very, very early, like ahead of other people. Y'all were, publicly putting out like 2020, 2026 kids out there from the school. So like, I don't know. Can you speak to that just a little bit?
Yeah, I think the reason 2026 was so important, and it's the same thing I was saying at this time last year, because everybody was freaking out about the in-state recruiting or lack thereof with Kalen DeBoer. And it was, the thing that I kept telling people, and I'm sure at this point you might have heard me say it or someone else say it, some variation of it, but it was like when he was at Washington recruiting, he never expected to come across country to the state of Alabama and out-recruit Nick Saban. He was never expecting to go into the state of Georgia from Washington and out-recruit Kirby Smart. So those relationships, like kind of what was the point? You're kind of wasting your time. Not saying you don't check on the occasional guy and spend some time doing it, but just as far as putting massive effort towards, building those relationships and stuff, it just wasn't there. So when he gets to Alabama, kind of more on short notice, it's like with the guys he was comfortable with, the relationships that he had established, it's not like you're settling for lesser players. They're Dijon Lee, Chuck McDonald, there's a ton of guys out there on the West Coast that are really, really good players. So he's like, okay, we're going to build it this way. We're going to continue to accumulate talent this way. And then we need to start establishing those relationships. And so that's exactly what he did. So what you're talking about as far as, moving on, I wouldn't maybe say it was moving on as much as it was, okay, this was a problem for us in 2025. How do we make sure it's not a problem for us in 2026? And so they really tackled that, because I think this, in-state recruiting class, it's a great group. It really is a lot of talent. And so, and it's guys that fit. I think that's the other element too. Like Hugh Freeze, same thing. It's any coach. Now, granted, I guess there's some coaches that go up there and they just want the recruiting wins. They just want the most talent. But when you're at a place like, Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State, and probably even places right now like Auburn, you got to have the right fit as far as the guy, as far as schematically. And that's one of the things I think last year, like Tyler Booker really shouldn't have been as effective in Kalen DeBoer's offense as he was. But I mean, I think he's just that type of guy. I don't think he was an ideal fit. I just think he was such a great mover and stuff for a guy his size where he can make it work. But they had been starting to move towards, the Caden Proctors. I don't know if Caden Proctor would have been a priority target had Kalen DeBoer been here for a few years, because Caden Proctor was just a different style of tackle, just the mass. And now, granted, he's kind of a dancing bear too. He's got a lot of athleticism, so they probably would have. But, I just think that scheme certainly plays a part in that. But I think that they're really starting to figure things out. And I don't know what the details of it are. I don't know what their plan of, I think if I knew it, I could probably make a lot of money handing it over to others, let helping out on that front. But I just think that they knew that they were the rev share could be a massive benefit to a place like Alabama, because it's not Texas, it's not Michigan, it's not these massive spenders. They can be in respectable ballparks, but for the guys who NIL is the priority, they're not outbidding people. It's just not going to happen. So they had to get creative. And I think that it's allowed them to allocate their money in a really good place. Like, the reason I think they're taking a lot of these 3-stars, and they're not the only program, a lot of schools are doing it, but I think that they are huge on evaluation. It's something that they did out there at Washington. You had to evaluate well. They weren't getting to the national championship with 4- and 5-star players. They were getting to the national championship with guys who were rated, lower rated 4 stars, 3 stars in a lot of cases. And it took development and it took evaluation. And so I think they're implementing that. They're getting some, what I would call, bargain buys. And then they're able to allocate that money more towards the guys at the top that fit. And they were going all in on those players, and they can be in respectable ballparks with the NIL. And so that's helping them secure a lot of these guys. So I just think they got a really good plan. I think they're executing it well. And it's something, I think college football, the rest of college football will probably start to catch up on some of this. But, I think for now they're doing a phenomenal job.
I know we had a Sunday show, and we was talking about how Auburn and they recruiting is going along. And Tez had something interesting that he was talking about. I don't understand it, so I'm gonna let him tell it, like how they going about with recruiting, and do you understand it? You can ask him, Tez, because I don't know.
I mean, he alluded to it with the whole August 1st thing. I guess I can ask, how do you feel about the piece of it where I guess it's this gray area of whether NIL collectives count towards a team's cap or not? You know what I mean? Like, it's not really clear in the. I don't know. I've read the website. That's all the information that I have. It's not really clear on there, and I think a lot of teams are operating off of different understandings of it. Auburn being the obvious one. I mean, but I think there are some more teams out there. Just we're the one that's the most popular and has taken the biggest hit. Seemingly, you go from a top portal class just in January to now. You're gonna make some headlines. So that's what I'm saying is, like, that portion of it. Like, what do you feel about that, or have you heard anything about that portion of it?
First of all, I know it's confusing. And I know that there's so for me to sit here and definitively say, hey, this, I haven't, people are interpreting things in different ways, but here's what I'll say. And this is the part to me, as far as the way that I don't think it's what, and I'm just being candid here, but I don't think it's what Hugh is saying that it is. I don't think it's the approach. I think it's more boosters are saying, okay, we've floated a lot of money for these classes, and so far the money that we floated hadn't resulted in anything but sub 500 seasons. So if there's a lot of more expectation this year, this can be a really good Auburn team. It really can. It can be competitive. I'm gonna go ahead and tell people now. Granted, I say competitive, I wouldn't necessarily say like it's possible playoff, but I would more so say, like, I think 7-5, I think 8-4 is possible, maybe 9-3, but they're going to be competitive in a lot of these football games. And they're going to be a problem for people, I can assure you. But, if they fall short of expectations again, Hugh Freeze won't be there. And I was talking about fit.
True.
And it's kind of like I've used the example of Alabama's offensive line. Like there for a while, they were kind of getting away from the bigger offensive linemen, and they were starting to go with smaller guys who had a little bit more athleticism. Yeah. And then they pivoted right before Nick Saban retired. They started leaning back the other way because Nick Saban watched Kirby Smart in Georgia win 2 national championships, mauling people to death and playing a walk-on quarterback off of that and elite defense. Like, hey, this can still work. So I think he was kind of trying to get back to that. And then he up and retires. Then you bring in Kalen DeBoer, and now it's leaning back the other way with their offensive line as far as the kind of players that you're recruiting. Now it's more athletic-based, got to fit that profile. They want the nastiness. They want the size wherever they can get it, but athleticism is the priority. And the reason that I bring that up is, like, from Auburn's perspective, you don't know what the next coach is going to want. So if you keep investing tons of money and he brings in, quote-unquote, his players, and then you fire him after this season – now you bring in a coach and you might have to spend a bunch of money to get the top kind of players that he needs. So I think right now, a lot of these boosters, they forked over a lot of money. Now they're playing the wait and see game. And this is why this is such a critical season for Auburn, because if they are successful on the field and the boosters start to buy in and they think Hugh Freeze is going to be around for a while, I think they start pouring more back into the N.I.L. And I think that Auburn starts to try to make some late pushes and get some late flips before December. There's plenty of time. If you see the season going in a positive direction, you can at least start to make some things happen and you can start getting some of that belief. But they've got to see it. I don't think that it's this because, why would Hugh do that? I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, everybody was saying what Texas A&M's doing. They just bought an entire class, one of the best classes of all time. They're going to get in so much trouble for that when this NIL starts to get some regulation there, and what happened in Texas A&M? Absolutely nothing. So anybody that's trying to, I'm going to follow these rules because they're going to come back and it's going to get you in trouble. It's like, I mean, where has that been proven? So, and do you think that literally they're going to come down on everybody else but you? So, and I'm not saying all but them, but I'm saying that's why I don't buy it as far as what he's saying. I just think it's him. He doesn't want to tell people, well, right now the boosters don't really believe in me like they should, and I might not be around. So I gotta win on the field, and then I'll start getting what I need. Like if he says that, that's just going to cause a lot of problems. So it's coming up with some reason or excuse where that gets you to the season. People stop talking about recruiting once the season starts. It becomes very secondary. And then if the wins start stacking, then you can get competitive, and it's, you don't have to worry about it anymore. All of the criticism and stuff, it'll go away. So I think that it was more just him buying time, if I had to guess. But once again, I don't know that definitively, and I certainly don't know things well enough to tell you that he's 100% wrong. I'm saying it just seems like he's wrong to me.
I know that, man. I think it's a lot of what you said. I think it's a combination of things. Just success on the field, of course. That's always gonna be keep you out of the woods in recruiting. And then the booster thing is crazy. For me, I don't. It's if I'm a booster at that time, like I don't go get you a Jackson Arnold. I don't go get you a Eric Singleton. I don't put forth money for those NIL deals in that transfer portal if I feel like, you know what I mean? Because these are Hugh Freeze's guys as well.
But that's exactly the guys I would go after, though, because those are more of the short term. Those are the guys that are going to be able to help in 2025. And it's like, hey, we need to start seeing some improvement. We'll give you money to bring in guys who can help you now. Eric Singleton can help Auburn win football games this year. Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze's offense can help Auburn win football games this year. And that is what they're trying to do. And so if all that works out, and if you get these quote unquote Hugh Freeze guys, and those guys, I mean, you still can't get it right on the field. And it's like, okay, why are we going to invest in the long-term guys? When clearly we're going to be going in a different direction. But what I will say is anybody that's naive enough to think this is going to last with Auburn, I'm going to go ahead and tell you it's not. And it's either going to be that Hugh is going to get it right and they're going to start backing him again, or he's going to be out and the next guy that comes in, Auburn's going to want to win. Their boosters are going to want to win, and they're going to pour money into him. So either way, money is going to start flowing at some point again. So, for any Auburn fans that's watching, that's where you got to feel good about it. But in the short term, I mean, I do think it's hurting. But at the same time, I'm not the one writing checks. So it's easy for me to say, just keep opening up the checkbook. That's your best chance to win. It's like, I mean, it hadn't resulted in any wins so far.
I think that this. I told Zabrinsky. I think that this. What's happening at Auburn, like regardless of who you're a fan of, what's happening at Auburn in regards to this whole the claim of a rev share, and even if their claim is false, even if what they're saying is completely false, they're making excuses. Still, this is probably the biggest story, NIL related story in this generation, like of the NIL era. Like what happens there will kind of will tell other teams what is actually possible. And like you said, it's still a gray area where we'll get answers via what happens at Auburn, either they're right or wrong. We'll get some of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say if somehow they are correct, if what Hugh Freeze and John Cohen are saying is exactly what's going on, and you're going to end up having this massive problem, the advantage that's going to give Auburn is going to be absurd, because a lot of these schools, it wasn't that they were purposefully trying to throw out fake money or mislead these kids, because that's going to bite you. I mean, you're going to get, if you ain't got the money to give them, I mean, at some point it's going to be a problem. I mean, Jaden Rashada. Yeah, I mean, with Florida made him some promises, didn't keep him, and that caused all sorts of issues for both him and Florida. So it's like anybody that's purposefully doing that would be very foolish. I just think I definitely, I almost guarantee you it's not intentional if that's the case. But if you got to go to recruits and say, hey, we misunderstood something, we've got to cut back. Like when you start trying to pull back, I mean, at any point, the ones that were quote unquote shooting them straight the entire time, that's going to be a massive advantage. I don't personally think that's going to be how it works out, but I will say if they end up being right and that is actually what's going on, yeah, I mean, I would fully expect Auburn to come out looking really good.
What are the penalties?
That's the, I mean,
that's
who's got the power? I mean, what kind of punishment is coming? That's the thing too. It's like because I couldn't even begin to tell you what those penalties would be. I don't know what happens. What if you just say, no, we're going to spend 25 mil instead of 20 mil? Who's going to come in and crack? And to be honest with you, because it's just, I would say it's not above my pay grade, but it's just, I mean, the whole numbers side of it, I just have never had much interest in. It's why I love college compared to the NFL. Like learning contracts and then having to break down to people when I hop on stuff like this. Oh, this is what he's getting. This front loaded. It's back loaded.
Yeah.
I've just had no interest whatsoever. Let's talk ball. So I've kind of avoided that as much as possible, but that's a long-winded way of saying I have no idea what the punishment would be.
I just want to, because I know, for one, you guys are doing an awesome job for the most part. I just want to give a shout out to all the new members of the, I don't know what we're going to call it, but yeah, appreciate Latoya, always supporting the channel. Y'all see the nice little red sharpshooter's handle right by it. So definitely, if you join, you get that little token right there. Of course, my main man, Piano Man, showing love to the channel, man. Appreciate that. And of course, our sis, KT, showing love to the channel. So like I said, man, if you guys want to become a member of the channel, the link is pinned at the top. And I'm enjoying this conversation, man. I really am. And I know some people had some
check way offsides. You get a chance. Be sharp.
Say it again.
Check way offsides. Yeah, they had a real good question earlier.
You talking about this one?
No, it was before that one.
Where was it?
It was kind of a long one, but it was a good one.
Way outside. Put that question which question it was back in the chat, because I thought that was the one you was talking about. But I know I got 5 Adams. He said, do we have a chance of getting D tackle Elijah Gordan? But I know also another recruit that you can add on with that, because I know it's one of Coach Sean's favorites is Emmanuel Ruffin. Do you believe we have a shot at him? Because he's one of the ones, and I feel like we need I think later on down the line we may have a chance, but I'm not sure. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've done a pretty good job of, recruiting those guys. I think when you secure your class, pretty much a majority of it, like they have with everybody's doing it. You start focusing on these one or two guys, and that's where things can change things can change quickly in recruiting anyways. But after you're you got to continue to keep them happy till December, till they sign.
Facts.
So I'm not, they're in the bag, let's go focus on someone else. Exactly. But I am saying that like the unsecured targets, you get to kind of hone in on them a little bit. Make them feel like a priority, things like, and then so things can change. So I don't want to say that they're out of it by any means. I think right now, I mean, you can go after multiple guys at once, but I think the priority right now, they're doing everything they can to get Tank Jones. And I just, with Nolan Wilson, I don't know how big he'll get. I definitely didn't think Jeremiah Beeman was going to get up to 312 pounds.
Facts. I didn't either.
I thought 260 pounds, strong side defensive end. I thought, okay, he'll if he's a bandit at Alabama, he'll probably get 275, 280 like max. And then next thing I know, I mean, he's showing up almost, just under 300 pounds, and then now he's put on another 15 or so. It's like, but I mean, Nolan Wilson, he's a little bit leggy, long legs, but I do think he's got a frame to hold more weight. I just don't know how much more. And it's way better when you can see a guy in person as far as knowing, what kind of frame he's got. Seeing it on some highlight tapes or some pictures, there's only so much, but it would be really nice if he ended up being kind of the way I'm starting to view Kelby Collins, where it's like, okay, originally thought he was going to play bandit and then play situationally inside. Now I think more so he's going to be primarily an inside guy who's going to play out, in certain packages or certain situations when they go heavy. South Carolina last year was, if I recall, they kind of went a little bit heavier. They wanted to stop the run. At that time, I don't think they respected Lenoris Sellers' arm as much as they respected his legs. He hadn't really established himself as that guy yet necessarily. He's only about midway through the season. But those types of games were game plans. Maybe he plays further out on the edge, but he's primarily, I think now, going to be more of an interior guy. It would be nice if Nolan Wilson could be that, and then Tank Jones, he can play. It's possible he plays Wolf, but I see him more as a bandit. We'll have to wait and see. I think you can at least pitch Wolf to him. And then you've got Jamarian Matthews, who I think is very underrated. I mean, I say underrated. I mean, he's borderline top 100 recruit, so it's not like he's being slept on necessarily, but just from he's been committed for a while. I think Bama fans have kind of, not saying they've forgotten about him, but I think we need to be giving him a lot more attention because he's a heck of a player. I was watching him the other day, but he's, to me, I think he's going to be a bandit. So I think their defensive line recruiting, J.J. Finch, underrated, Cam Johnson, underrated. So I think their defensive line room is in really good shape. And one of the things that I've told people is I think in the transfer portal, if you're trying to go get 3 down interior defensive linemen who can get to the quarterback, not only are they going to be super sought after, they're going to be super expensive. But if you can get your interior pass rushers and stuff from the high school level and develop them, I think you can get situational, like run-stopping interior defensive linemen from the transfer portal, like Jaheim Otis, Damon Payne. Both of those, I mean, and granted, it's going the opposite way, but they were available in the portal. I don't think they broke the bank for Michigan or Colorado. I'm sure they got respectable N.I.L. deals, but I think that, you can go out and get your own Damon Payne, who I thought was a very good early down rotational defensive lineman for Alabama this past season. I think you can go get those types of guys, but the ones that you want to go get are the ones that can get after the quarterback and do a lot of those things. So I think that's kind of the way they're attacking this. So anybody that's worried, they need bigger bodies on the inside, they're not going to be playing 270-pound interior defensive linemen one way or another. I can assure you they've got a plan. And I think that, it will probably be the transfer portal, and they can get some pretty impactful players who might not cost as much because they're a little bit more limited, but you can get, pretty good impact from them.
Let me speak with Clint about this. You finna get way off sides? Go ahead. You can get way off sides first.
Oh, no. Go ahead. We can always go back to it.
It was an Auburn thing too for Tez. I can't find nobody to agree with me on this, Clint. Like, I think I'm the only person that I've heard say this. Everybody else is the other way. I personally think, man, and I may be the only person you hear say this, I think Jackson Arnold is going to play well at Auburn. And let me tell you, Hugh has this up-tempo spread attack, loves running that three-man surface, as we call it, using motion and a lot of formations and to isolate defenders and create matchups. He loved doing that, right? Mm-hmm. I think Oklahoma underutilized him. I really think this kid is going to have a decent season. I think he'll play better than Peyton Thorne, man. I just got a feeling because Peyton Thorne, I don't ever recall, even when he was at the other school,
Michigan State, yeah.
Michigan State. Mm-hmm. I always thought Jackson Arnold was a better thrower of the football. Coming out of high school, I didn't really see it at Oklahoma, right? But this kid is super duper athletic. We should know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. I don't know. I know they don't have outside of the receivers. They got a running back or two. I don't know how that offensive line is going to do. But I really do feel like this kid is going to fit that offense well. I just got a feeling. The last time I had this feeling was Nick Marshall. I'm like, everybody's like, nah, he can't throw. I just feel like he fit what they like to do at that time. I don't know, man. How you feel about that?
I agree with you. Yeah, and that's why Auburn, I think they are going to be a problem. And that doesn't mean automatically that, hey, they're going to compete for a playoff. I'm just mean when any team that plays Auburn on any given Saturday, they're not going to have a great time playing Auburn. That's kind of what I mean when I say they're going to be a problem. Yep. And I'm not trying to get on here and pump up Auburn too much. I'm sure that's not making a large portion of it. But at the same time, I'm going to speak.
By all means, man. I love
it. but I mean, one of the things is like I think they were so limited. I mean, I want you to think about that game plan against Alabama. Everybody knew that he was he's kind of like Ty Simpson, more than Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow definitely had the deceptive athleticism as a runner. But everybody knew he had that, but no one expected them to do what they did against Alabama. And the reason being is because, I think Jackson Arnold is more than that, but they didn't have the guys at receiver because of injuries and just how depleted they were, where they could really do a whole lot. Your dude's going out there and beating your fifth string dude's going out there and beating, Alabama's corners, former 5-stars, Damani Jackson and Xavier Brown, and another 5-star and Jalen and Bach, it wasn't happening. So I actually, as soon as it starts unfolding, I'm like, this was an excellent call, just because Alabama didn't see it coming. They hadn't put it on tape. And it was just for that one game, it was going to be super effective. They called Alabama off guard with it. But, Auburn has dudes at receiver. They can make a quarterback look really good. Well, one of the great examples of this that I always like to use, and I don't know why, when I think of like the big-bodied X, go up and get it downfield, turn 50-50 balls into 70-30 balls, I always, for some reason, he's not the best to ever do this, but I always think of Seth Williams and just him bailing out Bo Nix. Sometimes it would just be throw it down there.
Yeah,
you've got those types of guys. You've got guys like Eric Singleton who you can manufacture underneath touches for you. I mean, you can do so many different things with this Auburn wide receiver room. And so Hugh's not going to be and I think granted, their offensive line compared to Bama's, I think, depth is kind of an issue for both, in my opinion, a potential issue. I actually like where both their spots are at as far as the depth, but I'm saying I'm not certain about it. Yeah. But the difference is we've seen a lot of these Alabama offensive linemen play a lot of snaps together. Auburn's is you're going to have some transfer portal guys hit, but they brought in the right transfer portal guys. So if you're going to take a swing, they definitely brought in the guys you want to take a swing on. So I think the offensive line is going to be pretty good. I just don't see. I mean, granted, I didn't really think Alabama could possibly be as bad at running the football as they were last year. So I don't want to say, I just can't imagine a scenario where Auburn's terrible at running the football. Maybe I end up being wrong on that because I was wrong about Bama this past season. But I think that Hugh Freeze is going to have enough at his disposal, and Jackson Arnold is certainly going to have enough at his disposal to be able to actually put his entire skill set on display. Yeah. And so, he was a 5-star for a reason. I'm not saying he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football, but I definitely think he can end up being much better than a lot of these people, out here are saying that he's going to be.
Facts.
I got a question that's related to that for all of y'all, actually. So I call this like the quarterback conundrum. I just gave it a name one day, but it is so like you asked the question, you posed the question about Jackson Arnold and him being one of better than Peyton Thorne, right? What does that look like? Because Peyton Thorne was 7th in the SEC in passing last year from a quarterback standpoint. So that means you're saying that you think that Jackson Arnold is going to be a top 5 quarterback in the league? Just for reference, Jalen Milroe was 6. He had like maybe 200 yards more than Peyton Thorne.
How are they playing in a lot of these games?
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying.
Game script though matters,
right?
When you're up 2 touchdowns for a majority of the game, like Alabama was in the Iron Bowl, you're playing Jalen Milroe a lot differently than Auburn's playing, Peyton Thorne, right? So I'm not saying number of pass attempts. I mean, I know that he had more pass attempts than Jalen Milroe, but I'm not saying that it's like this huge lopsided thing. But I'm saying that the way that the offense kind of had to operate, I mean,
just play on the field. I got you.
Okay.
It's just interesting, like when we had a conversation about quarterback sometimes, because he's stuck.
There you go. It's good.
We good?
I got you. I pressed the button for you.
Hey, you got me back up quick. That one actually got me. I don't even remember what I was saying. We were talking about Auburn, but
well, any quarterback, because you guys have a new quarterback that's coming into the league. Just from a pure yardage standpoint, where do you estimate them to kind of land Ty Simpson, even to kind of land in the SEC or comparably play? Not even yardage, just as far as quarterback, if you had to rank them.
Here's the thing, I can see a scenario. This is where the skill sets are not similar between Mac Jones and Ty Simpson.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say is I don't think anybody saw Alabama's offense being that in 2020. Everybody thought, I was definitely a believer in Mac Jones, and I knew he had a ton of talent around him. So I knew that they could be really good offensively. Not saying that I thought he was going to be a game manager, but I didn't expect record-breaking or record-threatening, offense. You never want to predict that, but I will say the recipe is there again this year, where I love the wide receiver room. I think it's got depth. I think the offensive line is set up. I think when you talk about the style of offense that's going to breed those types of numbers, I mean, we saw it at Washington, and if you got a guy who can, it's like everybody wanted to criticize Ryan Grubb with, the Seahawks because, they weren't winning football games and stuff. But when you got Michael Penix as your quarterback, Geno Smith was very underrated. Don't get me wrong. But I think that when you're winning football games, and you've got that, no one's going to get mad at you for using Michael Penix Jr. more. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what I kind of worry about is, or not worry about, but that's what makes me think, okay, if Ty Simpson, I'm not saying he's going to be Michael Penix at all. That's not what I'm saying. But if the passing game is as effective as I think it can be, and you have an offensive coordinator who kind of likes to lean into that when it is effective, then he could get plenty of opportunities, which could lead to some pretty absurd numbers. So I've said I could see him being one of the leaders in the SEC and one of the leaders in college football in passing yardage and all those numbers, and him end up having a Mac Jones type of season if it works out that way. Not saying it's going to, but I'm saying the recipe is there. But it's all based off of how, what's wild about 2020 is they were kind of kicking the mess out of everybody. And he still was putting up stupid numbers. And you would typically say with game script, it's like when you're killing everybody, you start handing the football off and draining clock. And so the numbers he was putting up wasn't really reflective of how the season was going. But I feel like that was an outlier for whatever reason. But, I could definitely see Ty Simpson putting up insane numbers. But I think bare minimum, the people that are putting him at like 7 or 8 as far as SEC quarterback rankings, it is all projection. Nothing he's done up to this point warrants being that high. When I do SEC quarterback rankings, I want to look at the end of the year and say, how close was I? That's what I'm trying to do. And so I think that's a very respectable range. If you've got him in the top 10, I'm like, okay. But, I just think the offense and the way that it's going to be set up, there's nothing that you look at other than we just don't know for sure that the run game is going to be more consistent and more, you can rely on it or lean on it more. But everything else a quarterback needs, and that element could certainly be there as well. You're talking about offensive line, playmakers, play caller, defense to take as much pressure off you as possible. Everything that a quarterback needs otherwise is it seems like it's going to be there for Ty Simpson. And if the run game is there as well, nothing will not be at his disposal. So if he fails, it will not be because he was not set up for success.
Let me give these guys some shout outs real quick. Kimberly, appreciate you joining the clan. Appreciate you. Dwight, appreciate you, brother. And even giving out 5 gifts to people to join it, man. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you all for always supporting the channel. Of
KB.
course, our guy KB joining the channel, one of the best in business out there, always showing love and also sending over a good old $10 bill. Appreciate you, brother. Greatly appreciate it.
Kangaroo Black.
But oh yeah, Coach Carl said it, man. I gotta work on my voice, man, when they give stuff. So I gotta work on it, man, with that. So I probably had one Feeless to Dancing Fool or something like that, but it ain't gonna be like Kangaroo Black. It's gonna be a little different. More of my range, maybe 3-6 Mafia Tear the Club or some type like that.
You like my little nephew. He'd be like, I am smiling.
Yeah. I know. Shout out to Way Outside, man. Them brothers doing a great job over there.
Great
man.
job.
Love y'all coverage on Xavier Griffin. Great interview too.
Yes, sir.
But they say I firmly believe that you can't build long-term success using NIL as your primary recruiter. Do you feel like Alabama has a good balance between old school and modern approaches? You can tell me.
Yes. That's exactly what I think it is, because anybody that's saying NIL is not playing a factor, I mean, that's it. I mean, it has to. Like, you can't. I think the relationship building element of it, what it does is it helps as far as, okay, we might not be the highest offer, but they want to play here. That's the huge, like, everybody gets on to Jalen Mbakwe for how he handled the situation when he was approached with, allegedly a 7-figure deal. But at the same time, first of all, anybody offer me, 3 or 4x what I'm making right now. I love love cover crimson. I really do. But someone start 4xing and we're gonna have a conversation at the bare minimum. And I'll see you guys on the other side is what I'll probably go ahead and tell you. But at the same time though, you got to be respectable on that front. You got to be in a range, but you build the relationships to where you don't have to get into the bidding wars. And the bidding wars are where you don't want to be. And I hate, I always use him as the example because he's recent. It was very clear what it was. Everybody, I mean, Ty Haywood was committed to Alabama for a while, but Alabama fans had already accepted that he was not going to be a part of the class because they knew that NIL was going to be a driving force for him, and they knew what Michigan was offering was nowhere close to where Alabama was. And so they knew that was an inevitable situation. Now, here's the thing, though. Nico Iamaleava got handed a fat sum of money early on, didn't he? That was a huge talking point. It was $8 million, I think, when he first signed. And then next thing you know, what did that breed? What you saw this offseason. And that was a headache for Tennessee. And that's where things can really go south for you. Because that is the primary, and that's how you're starting the relationship. Just imagine Nico's argument is, I was a starter, and while he wasn't even super overly effective, it's like, I got a lot of talent. Like, and what are you going to have if not me? Like, where are you going to be at quarterback if not me? And so they thought they had the leverage. And so they're not saying Nico was playing this game, but somebody was that was representing him, his dad or somebody else. And it ended up, I think, costing him a lot of money. And he's in a much worse situation, in my opinion. We'll see how it works out for him. But that was just a headache for everybody involved. It was right before, was it their spring game that it was right before? And then, it's like, that's the last thing you want from a culture building standpoint. So, completely agree with Cotton. If you're just throwing money at guys, and this is why I'll go ahead and tell you, and I hope there are no USC fans on here, but if I was a USC fan, I would not be excited about the recent recruiting run. And this is why, you know, when Hugh Freeze was talking about some teams not doing it the right way, I think where there is some proof is places like USC. Alabama, when a 5-star in-state wide receiver who has grown up an Alabama fan and has been projected to go to Alabama for months goes to Alabama, that shouldn't shock anybody. But when a guy's trending in a clearly one direction and like the day before he commits, all of a sudden USC comes out of nowhere and now people are flipping their RPMs and stuff to USC, that is a problem because he didn't have some epiphany. It was that dollar amount got so much that you couldn't turn it down. That's fun. It means you get him, means it's the recruiting win, but I will see how it plays out for USC. But if I was a USC fan, based off of the examples that we've been given, hadn't really. I mean, how did it do for Texas A&M? Is all I'm saying. So we'll see.
Jackson Cantwell.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was talking about, though. Like, I mean, it gets mixed up coming from me. I'm an Auburn fan, and when we start talking fans back and forth, it kind of sounds like I'm making excuses. But at the core of it, it's like, yeah, there are some teams that are mismanaging this.
Florida State's one of them, by the way.
Yeah.
Florida State, he flipped, and that's why, you know, I was trying to tell people, everybody wanted it to be about Alabama because Alabama was on a tear, and it's like it would be great if not only are you struggling due to an external factor that's going to get fixed, but your biggest rival is about to suffer because they're not like, so everybody wanted to assign Alabama. And I just think from Hugh Freeze's perspective, he puts out what is probably some version of the truth, and everybody just automatically applaud it to Alabama, which only helped him. So I think that was just, I don't know if that was just pure genius on his part or it was unintentional or what, but Florida State, they had just flipped an Auburn commit. That Rankins, that defensive lineman, had just committed to them over Auburn. And then he makes this statement. It's like Florida State has been another one where I think they're a little USC-esque right now. And so, you know, once again, we'll see how that works out. But, I completely agree with you. I don't think everybody is going about it the right way. But I just, you know, a lot of Auburn fans have taken that and they've said essentially everybody's doing it the wrong way. And that's not the case whatsoever.
No. Not at all. This should be interesting. I'm looking forward to this transfer portal coming up. This 2026 transfer portal. This should be very telling.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I do think, you know, I think what teams are learning the most, or programs are right now, is how to better manage your own roster. I think the transfer portal, when it first became a thing, you had all these backdoor agents, you know, sliding in their DMs and getting in their heads, offering them money. And just I think a lot of schools weren't expecting it. They didn't know how to handle it. I mean, it's like when you've got, I think Alabama probably handled the Jalen Mbakwe situation about as well as they possibly could because they knew Jalen Mbakwe wanted to be there. He didn't want to leave. You know, he was only even considering leaving because it was just an absurd amount of money relative to what he was already making. Which anybody else would have at least contemplated it. And you know, I don't want to call people a liar, but I mean, I doubt that you wouldn't at least consider it if you were presented with something similar. But I definitely think right now that people are adjusting how to keep their own roster rather than, you know, because it's got to start there. If you got dudes, you know, Justin Okoronkwo is like a perfect example. I don't know that one caught Alabama off guard necessarily, but that's like a 3-star kind of wasn't super well known, but the traits were clearly there. When you saw him on tape, it's like he just is not very experienced with football, but he's going to be a dude when he gets experience. And what does Alabama do? You know, Saban brings him in. They start the development process, you know, and then he ends up transferring to South Carolina, and they're probably going to reap the benefits of it. So it's like those next guys where you're investing a lot of time, these 3 stars that we're talking about that some people are disappointed in, and some of us are hyping them up and saying they're underrated. Get them on campus, develop them. I trust the staff to be able to do that, but you also got to understand once they start developing and they start getting some of that attention, you know, other schools are going to come calling. So you got to make sure you're staying well connected with them.
That's a fact. We talked about that as well. That is 100% facts. Other schools are going to come calling. Big facts.
I want to ask you this, Clint, as I have a 2-year-old right in front of me, but about to put her to bed. But I remember you said something about the relationships with these players. What Way Outside was talking about, like relationships matter. Just think about what Xavier Griffin, his relationship with Christian Robinson, and you can think about when Cedarion Morgan. What's the first thing that he said? Why he chose Alabama? His relationship with Coach Shep. I believe that's the recipe. Like relationships going to matter, and it's always going to matter at the end of the day. Yes, you can give somebody some money, but relationships going to matter.
And this is where I think the combination of factors is coming into play. Is you have to be in if the money is too lopsided. Yeah. Even if guys don't want to go somewhere else, it's like, I mean, we all got families we got to think about, and there's no such thing as a sure thing. Like you might think you're an NFL prospect and you're going to go make millions of dollars, but when it's sitting right there in front of you, it's like, yeah. So you have to be in a respectable range. It's a matter of, okay, I've got a respectable offer here, and this is where I really want to go versus a lucrative offer here, but I don't want to go there. As long as you're being taken care of and you can put some money in your pocket and provide for your family, which is all these kids are trying to do. And the NCAA exploited them for so long. And that's how we got into this mess in the first place. And I never want to ignore that. I will say that I think too much of the power has shifted to the players, but let's all be reminded how that happened in the first place. And that was, you couldn't use water, from someone's house to wash your car off, or the NCAA would get on to you. I remember hearing a story, no idea if it's true or not. And a former Alabama running back's mother was broken down on the side of the road. Someone pulls over. They offer to help her. She says she can't take it because she risks his eligibility if she does accept the help. It's like there was a punter, I think, for UCF that was establishing himself as a pretty big YouTube guy, making a little bit of money off of that. And they came in and said, pick. You either be a punter or you be a YouTube sensation. And he said, forget that. I'll be the YouTube sensation. I mean, this ain't he wasn't at Alabama competing for rings, So I mean, and so like this is the types of stuff that the NCAA was doing, and all these kids are trying to do is, everybody talks about, well, they're getting education, they're getting fed. They are, but their family at home might not be. And, it's like, oh, I'm living the good life for the next 3 or 4 years. Hopefully I'm able to take care of you guys when I get there. It's like anybody, my brother, I wouldn't let go through that. My mom, I certainly wouldn't let go through that. It's like, so you got to be able to take care of them financially and make sure they're in a good place. No one's saying, hey, you know what? I'll take a 10th of what they're offering me over there because I just love you and want to play for you. I don't think that's happening, but I do think that they are taking a discount. And it's not the Saban discount, quote unquote. You've got to be a little bit more respectable, but that's why I tell people Alabama's, they are not. If they say, hey, they're, Alabama's offering me $400,000 to go there, will you give me 401? And then they're getting 401, they're going back to Alabama and saying, hey, they're paying me 401. Will you pay me 402? It's like, Bama's like, we're out. We're not doing that. We're not playing that game, because when you start the relation, they're all about establishing the relationships. And when the relationship is started off in that way, it kind of sours it from the beginning, and it doesn't get started on the right foot. And that's not how they want to build the program. You might get talent in the room, but your culture's shot.
Right. So I got a question, man. You said that how, and this is actually kind of sad, but how close do you think we're getting to the point where the dream in football is to get to college? To get paid for like some of these inner city kids that may, like you said, they want a better life for themselves and their family, and they're no longer looking at the NFL as, what can do that now. It's just like, I just want to get to college, get this first deal, and I don't care what happens after that.
I do think, and this is why the places that can still build a good team first culture are going to be the most successful programs. Now, it's the ones that can do that and still recruit to a respectable level. But, right now, it is, if someone were to walk in this room and hand me $10 million, I got to be honest, fellas, I'm a grinder, but I'm taking tomorrow off. I'm hitting the vacay. We're going on vacay. I'm dropping everything I'm doing. And if I get fired, I get fired, because I'll figure it out, but I'm saying I love what I do too. Absolutely. But I mean, when anytime you get put in that position, the hunger is going to be affected. comfort is the death of success.
Yeah,
you know,
Ali talked about that.
100%. In anybody who is super successful in life will tell you that. What's wild is that we don't listen, and I mean, it's like, hey, just people just don't think it could be as easy as that. But it's not all about not getting comfortable. But these kids, it's like when you're struggling at home, and your motivating factor is I've got to put my head down, go to work. I'm going to buy my mom a house one day. She's worked 3 jobs to help me. I'm going to figure out one day I'm going to hand her keys and say, this is yours. That is a motivating force that once it gets moved up, first of all, it happens way sooner in your life. You're not mature. I think a lot of NFL players, they're still not mature enough to, when they to get handed that kind of sum of money and not do some stupid stuff with it. I know me at 20 years old, 21, we'd have been doing some crazy stuff. We'd have been, I'd have had all of that money spent. But, you hand it to an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old, like Ron Williams or something, like it can become a massive problem. And I think that that's something that, first of all, people are coming in with this, with more of a me first. I mean, that's obvious, but also like just once you're there and you've made it and you're able to kind of provide for your family. Now, granted, if you're getting that kind of money that early and you don't know how to manage it, you're probably going to blow it. And then the hunger's gone. And then you really can end up sacrificing the life-changing money down the line. But that's a massive problem in college athletics. I would go ahead and put it. But yeah, I definitely think that that's something. That's why the culture building is it's always been a critical component. But I mean, I feel like even more so now. The guys, I mean, like I think Michigan a couple of years ago, they really, as a team, they started buying in because they felt like everybody was against them. And so they had this motivational force kind of driving their entire season where they could rally around each other. It didn't become about the individuals. It became about the team. And we got to shut everybody. It's us against the world. It's why Dabo Sweeney plays poor old little, poor pitiful me. It's why Kirby Smart's always trying to feel disrespected and make his team feel disrespected because they're trying to build that. I don't think Alabama's going about it that same way. I just think it's this very, it's the coaching staff, everybody in the building. You got to care about people. You got to, have each other's backs. I just think the entire culture has been built that way. And I think that's a massive reason why Kalen DeBoer has been successful everywhere he's been.
I tell a lot of people, man, you do it. We talk about N.I.L. We all know we went to college. The transition from high school to college for some people alone is enough to send them back home. Oh yeah, like we talked about it, Brinsky. Like, man, on Tuskegee campus, you come there in the fall, you can't find a parking spot. By the spring, you can park wherever you want. You go on that line. I'm pretty sure it was like that too up down the hill, Coach.
Yes, sir.
In the fall, you can't find a parking spot at all. Come spring, you park anywhere you want. Now you add this extra element of all of this money.
That's the one thing. That's the one thing that helped me. I mean, when I was going through that, is you're already getting your first sense of independence. And that is already just completely, I can stay up till 4 a.m. and, I could go out to, I can get in my vehicle and go to Wendy's at 3 a.m. and no one's going to get on to me or, I mean, I can do whatever I want. Like, that's such a crazy concept when you've been living under your parents' roof and there's been rules and stuff. Imagine you having the money where it's like, I can randomly go take a trip down to the beach because I've got 10 million in the bank and I can grab my friends. Like, imagine like how that would, having money on top of that would be, where I would like to think I would have handled it well. I just don't think I would have, because I was definitely one who very much enjoyed my independence when I got out on my own at first. And money would have only, that's the one thing that kept me stationary, was the fact that I didn't have the money to go a lot of places. Otherwise, I'd have been burning up the road and probably doing a lot of stupid stuff.
Man, you couldn't even give me that type of money. And I'm 33, so man, I'm telling you right now, man, I would have had a 95, 96 Impala on some chrome rims. System would have been knocking. You can hear it from another state, man.
Bro,
I came
up in the Freaknik era. late 90s, man. You give me that kind of money, bro. Oh, stop it, man. Alabama A&M University, man. Back then, sure, it's a little more students now, but the young ladies really outnumbered the dudes there with that kind of money. No, I ain't need that, bro. Brother didn't need that back then.
You playing 4 corners, man. Like I got 12 o'clock, I got 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
You got 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
Didn't need it, Clint. Didn't need it, brother.
Right there with you, man. And that's kind of that's why I can't. A lot of this stuff, like you want to blame Nico. I mean, it's like the situation, how it played out. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and now what I tell you, who I can blame his dad. I don't think his dad has done him any favor.
There we go.
And it's like I can't stand. I keep wanting to tell myself that he's coming from a place of love and he's trying to do best for his son. Like, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. I really try to remind myself of that because it's like, he's just trying to set his son up for success, get more security if something doesn't happen with the NFL or whatever. But it just, you can't really blame Nico because Nico, I think to the best of his ability, he's trying to put his head down and just. And now, granted, I have heard some pretty bad rumors about how kind of he's behaved. I mean, calling his dad when things aren't going his way and things like that. So, anyways, that I don't know how I would have handled it at their age had I been put in the same situation. I like to think I'd handle it better, but I honestly don't know.
I know we expect adults to act like adults, man. And when like the whole thing was going on with Nico, man, I did get like a little upset with him, felt like he was entitled. Then I got to realize, like, man, he's just a kid. I'm like, I understand that he's 20 years old, but think about when I was 20 years old, man. He's probably way more mature than I was. Far from, he's way in a whole nother stratosphere than I was. And then you got to look at his father, and it's just like his father just basically ruining him right now. But that's what I say, man. It's just a crazy world in this NIL world, and it's only going to get crazier. I believe. I think we haven't even seen crazy yet. But I know. Hold on, I got to shout out to Mrs. She said I'm from Georgia, LaToya, and she is a Georgia Bulldog alum.
House divided,
literally. And then,
hey,
it's been a rough few
years.
So how's it been for you, by the way? Like, how's it been for you? Because obviously, Alabama, when they play Georgia, they seem to come out on top a lot more than they don't. But she's got a couple of more recent national championships than you do. I mean, is it? My wife's a huge diehard Bama fan. I don't know how I would handle it if it was any other way. My brother, who is probably the most obnoxious Alabama fan that I personally know, he is the worst of the worst when it comes to the trash talking stuff. His wife is an Auburn fan, and she actually handles it pretty well, I guess. But it's like, I don't know, man. How has it been being married to a Georgia fan the last?
I'm gonna tell you, man. She is the nicest because thank God she loves football, but she's not like me. Like she said, I be stressed. I be stressed watching these games. That's why I don't like to go to I don't like to go to parties for like big parties for like the Iron Bowl because I was stressed out, Clint. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Especially the 2017 national championship game when we played them, and I was just so frustrated with Jalen and just how that whole game went. I didn't even see Tua throw the game-winning touchdown because I was in a whole nother room. That's how stressed I was. And she was in the other room. And I just seen it, hear folks outside screaming like we won. I'm like, how?
As soon as he took that sack, I remember I told my wife, I said, that's the one thing you couldn't do. Out of all the things, that's the one thing you couldn't do. And I said, that's it right there. That just cost him because obviously the kicking had not been great up to that point. So you weren't confident in anybody, hitting a longer field goal. I'm like, that's game right there. And my wife's like, well, I mean, she's my girlfriend at the time, but she was like, hold up. I mean, I'm like, no, that's all she wrote. That's the one thing you couldn't do. And then, of course, anytime I say that, she always ends up being right, and that's never fun. But yeah, it's it's. Do you ever? I get mad at myself sometimes. Obviously, a lot of these games I have to go to, but if it's like an away game and I don't have to go to it, sometimes, my brother will talk me into going somewhere. And it's like a lot of times, if it's like a game I think is going to be like close, I won't do it because, yeah. But then I always get mad at myself. Like Oklahoma was a perfect example this past season. It was in Norman. I didn't make the trip out there. I agreed to go, and then about halfway through, and I'm like, I didn't take Oklahoma seriously enough, and obviously neither did they. But I can't get on to them because I obviously didn't either. Because if I did, I wouldn't be here right now because now I'm stressed out to the max. So I mean, it's anytime that happens, always get.
I'm not gonna lie to you. And Coach Sean was here that day. We have some guys that do Oklahoma, to cover Oklahoma. And they were just like, oh, big bad Bama coming in, yada, yada, yada. We said Monday, you ain't fooling us with that BS. We're not going for that. We know they got a great defense.
Yes.
And then, so what we seen on the field, I was still mad what I seen, but it didn't shock me either. On the defensive side, the offensive side, I was shocked by because they couldn't move the ball all year. And all of a sudden, they just moving with ease when it comes to us.
Is that not how that game kind of plays out? To me, for whatever reason, the offense for Oklahoma stands out in that game. Maybe because it caught us all off guard and the way that they attacked Alabama's deep. Like, I just remember thinking, once again, brilliant.
I think it caught everybody off guard.
Yeah. And maybe that's why, but it's like Alabama's defense actually, they didn't give up a ton of points. They were outside of not being able to stop the run consistently enough. Like, obviously there was no passing game. But for whatever reason, like the numbers don't reflect it. But the defense to me was, I wouldn't say the bigger failure in that game, but it was the more shocking aspect or element of it, because I just thought with the way that they're so limited throwing the football with all the injuries and stuff, I'm like, Alabama's going to be able to, anytime you can play a one-dimensional team. And I thought Alabama, for the most part, obviously made some good plays, but like South Carolina, they thought Lenore Sellers was going to be more one-dimensional. They played in that way. They were definitely committed to stopping the run, and they actually did. Out of all the struggles they had with dual threat quarterbacks this past season, Lenore Sellers was not one of them. They did a very good job of keeping him contained. But it's like, I don't know, man, just that was out of all the games and the way that it played out, one of the wildest that I can remember. Just and then granted, when's the last time Alabama, didn't score a touchdown? Okay, I take that back. They did score a touchdown. It just didn't count because the refs decided to call one of the crazy. Anyway, we're not going to go down that lane. I guess that's another hour conversation.
Look, I don't know if I told you guys this, and I just thought about it when you guys were talking about the house divided and stuff like that. This one over here, great. I hope Susan ain't in here with the Bama State. And was a cheerleader. If you know anything about HBCU ball, Clint, Alabama State is we don't do Alabama State.
Nobody likes them, Clint.
No. See, Brinsky and Tiz went to Tuskegee. I went to Alabama A&M here in
Just think of them as an Alabama Auburn rivalry.
Yes.
Now the Magic City Classic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I went to Birmingham Southern, so that was always literally right there. Oh yeah. Once every year, it was like yes, I've definitely knew. Okay, so you ended up with she went to Alabama State, and you went to you were obviously okay.
She's a cheerleader at Alabama State. Met her at the Classic.
You met her at the Classic. Okay, well,
but that makes sense.
So even your shield was up the highest. You probably wasn't looking for it.
Man, my teammates my former teammates give me hell even to this day about that, bro. My old coaches still give me mess about that, man. So around that time of the year, it's not good here. It's not good.
It's one thing I know I definitely want to hit on before we get up out of here, Clint. It's definitely we talked about it a little bit, but I won't go more in depth with it. It's SEC Media Day. We know it started Monday. We pretty much know that's like you said, kickoff to the season. Can't wait to see the coaches. And I asked you earlier, what day would you be more intrigued on going to? And of course, I'm gonna let you say what day. But I think that Tuesday, that second day,
the greatest day in college football.
that's gonna be headlines.
Why do you think that Tuesday?
Because Hugh Freeze.
Hugh Freeze, just think of everything.
Kirby.
And Kirby,
yeah.
and
Steve Sarkisian,
Josh Heupel,
and Josh
day
Heupel.
too.
Josh Heupel, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fireworks that day.
Yeah, as soon as you said that, I was like, you know what? Because I obviously picked Wednesday because I do some stuff to help with Mississippi State, and I do obviously, do the Bama stuff. So it's like Wednesday just makes the most sense to me. That's one I'm definitely gonna be paying attention to from a work
That's a great
standpoint.
day too, though.
Oh yeah, that'll be a good day. But I will say, as soon as you brought it Tuesday, I'm like from an entertainment standpoint. Yeah. I mean, it's not going to get better than Tuesday because I don't think Keelon DeBoer, he's going to say all the right thing. I don't think much is coming out of that from a headline standpoint. If I'm speaking candidly, Jeff Lebby, he don't say anything either. That's a lot of coach speak, and so I mean, I think you'll get some honest answers out of Hugh. I think Kirby always, he was like Nick Saban, where he wouldn't like reveal too much, but he would give you some very informative answers from like you can create some headlines and some conversation off of that. Steve Sarkisian, don't think he does that a lot, but just there's a lot of intrigue with Texas and then Tennessee with Josh Heupel and getting asked about the Nico situation and NIL and all that stuff. Like there's going to be some fireworks on Tuesday for sure.
I think that every single coach is going to get asked about the situation at Auburn without them actually saying Auburn.
Yeah.
I can see that for sure. I would be curious because like what it does is once again, Hugh Freeze and John Cohen, neither one of them mentioned anybody by name. And so everybody can run and speculate. But it's like, obviously Alabama was the easy one for people to go after because of the in-state rivalry. But I think it creates an interesting conversation on how are you navigating rev share and how is that playing into your pitch? And like just asking those types of questions and getting maybe we can start to get to the bottom of maybe some of the differences that the way people are viewing it. You might get an answer from one coach and then a completely different one that kind of contradicts that a little bit. And then he's like, okay, maybe there is some huge divide on how this stuff is supposed to look. That will be a huge storyline for SEC Media Days for sure.
Right. And if that happens, then we would be able to conclude that this was all a bad idea. You get like 3 different understandings from all these coaches. It's like, this was probably not a good idea.
Wait, I wouldn't be surprised. And granted, I wonder, because a lot of the time, like, I think Keelon DeBoer and the coaching staff, even though I think Courtney Morgan has a huge part in like identifying targets, I also think he's kind of he's an arrow and you just point him in the right direction and send him. But it's like, I wonder with these GMs and stuff, are there elements of this that maybe Courtney Morgan would be much better equipped to answer than Keelon DeBoer? But Keelon DeBoer is the one being asked the question. So that's something that I'll be curious to see how they navigate. Because one thing I'll say about Keelon DeBoer, I think his authenticity helps him tremendously. He is not a super polished speaker. He's not.
No.
He's one of us. It's like, hey, if I got in front of that many people, I do this stuff all the time. Doesn't bother me. You put me, I've spoken in front of crowds. It's still, it's not the same thing at all. I think the realness with him helps, but at the same time, him getting asked a question like that, I surely they've prepped him on it. But I'll be curious to hear his answer regardless, because I can see him kind of fumbling through that a little bit just because it's like, I mean, that's it. You would think it would be through the head coach. And if Nick Saban was still running things, it absolutely would be. He'd be the GM. He'd be he would be everything. But I don't know. I think there's some of that stuff that Keelon DeBoer just, he defers to Courtney Morgan and lets him handle it. So I'll be curious to see how he answers it.
Coach Sean, any speaker on SEC Media Day?
I'm just looking forward to the Alabama, man. Yeah. I watch, I watch Lane. I will tell the truth. I do watch Lane.
Is it entertaining?
Yeah, I watch Lane. I do watch Lane, man. I see my former player giving somebody the business. Texas. Is a Texas fan in here?
Yeah, Bevo.
Bragging about Texas. UJ beat your ass twice in the same season.
That's true.
Bro.
It's not a false statement.
I watch Lane. I watch Lane because Lane always never fails me with saying something that gets my attention, man. You know, but for me, it's just Bama. You know, I don't. You know me. That don't hold. It just doesn't hold my attention long. You know, I don't do like the recruiting stuff no more. I don't follow it for real no more. I resort to Brinsky when I want to know who commit where and what all of this stuff. So for me, it's about Bama. I want to know what questions they ask. I want to know how. It's just like Clint said, Coach DeBoer is not nowhere near as polished as Coach Saban was. So he may give you the sideways truth, if you know what I mean, without meaning to do it. So
you got to be able to read between the lines.
Got to be able to read between the lines. Facts. So I enjoy, man, watching our anything with Keelon DeBoer, anything with Alabama. I like seeing which analysts try to bait him. You know, there's some experienced analysts out there, some experienced guys. Which ones try to bait him? Coach, you're going to be great this year. What do you think about? You know, I like to see that. So anything Bama, I'm all about it. Other than that, man, I probably won't be tapped in. You know,
like I said, man, the one that I am just looking forward to, of course, Tuesday. But when Hugh Freeze touches that stage, I'm probably going to watch the whole thing. I'm just okay. Whatever you got to say, yada yada yada. Let the reporters ask the questions because I feel like he's going to be up there for a long time, and he's got to answer a lot of things with NIL, the way they're going, the way recruiting is just feel like it's just falling off the map.
I might have to go, man. I just want to ask him what his handicap is right now in golf. I just want to say, it's not that I just want to see how he handles it because you would think. Granted, I'm obviously picking fun, but
of course.
But I will say when it comes to the players, I was thinking about this. Alabama has not had an offensive and defensive lineman both be representative of them since 2012 when you had Barrett Jones and Damian Square.
Facts.
And just something about that, because this is typically like your leaders. Like last year was Malachi Moore, it was Jalen Milroe, it was Tyler Booker, the guys who had held the roster together. Like, I mean, it was, you know, typically you're bringing like it's the whole point. You're bringing your three biggest leaders and just having one in Caden Proctor with the offensive line. That's encouraging to me. Tim Keenan is kind of an obvious choice on defense. He was already kind of in that leadership group, and Deontay Lawson being the other one. I also think, you know, last year it was 2 offense, 1 defense. Now it's 2 defense, 1 offense. And it's really like there's no quarterbacks or receivers or defensive backs. It is a second level defender, and it is 2 trench guys. And I just think that I don't know why. Maybe it shouldn't, but that was that. I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into it, and I'm just coming up with reasons to get myself excited. But that was encouraging to me that your leaders are kind of. I mean, you got to have good trench play. Yeah, I mean, Ohio State got great trench play. Michigan, when they won the national championship, great trench play. Georgia, you know, Alabama in 2020. Like when you start going back to win the national championship, you got to get quality play in the trenches on both sides of the football. And so I hope that this is an indication that Alabama is going to get that. We'll see.
Let me ask you this, and I feel like I'm going to ask the guys, do they have any final question? Because I know this, for me, when they made the announcement, I was thinking I wasn't expecting Lawson because he was hurt, but, of course, he getting healthy. I knew Caden Proctor was going to be up there, but I think Tim Keaton being up there surprised me a lot. I wasn't expecting him. Were you expecting what was your 3 people that you thought they was gonna have come up there?
What's wild is that I probably should have done some sort of prediction for it. I hadn't really thought about it though. But Tim Keenan, he's really good. Like I don't, he's not super twitched up. He's not going to be like an early NFL draft pick. He's, you know, I think he can push the pocket and can provide, you know, on that front, but he's more of a run stopper, and everybody wants to talk about a lot. There were games where Alabama couldn't stop the run. Go look at the off tackle versus the between the tackle stuff in those games. A lot of the success is off tackle type of things. Alabama's defensive line did perform really well were there some plays that you'd like to have back? Absolutely. One of Jackson Arnold, the one where he ripped off the long one, that's on your defensive line. I think there were some second level problems. But Tim Keenan was an ox out there for Alabama this past season. He's a veteran guy. He's a multi-year starter. He's been a part of the leadership group. So I wouldn't say he's not. Sometimes you get like, what was it, Bryce Young and Will Anderson Jr. and I don't remember who the other one was that year. Actually, I got it right here. So you had J.C. Latham, first-round pick, Kool-Aid McKinstry, second-round pick. You had Dallas Turner, first round. The year before, Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Jordan Battle, obviously early round draft pick. Like typically but at the same time, I still think Tim Keenan could end up being a day 2 draft pick. It's probably, I wouldn't probably say second round. I still think second round's reserved for those guys who are viewed more as the true 3-down potential. But, I think him just the level in which he can stop the run, if he tests well enough, I could see him going in the 3rd round potentially. But he's just one of those guys where from a physical standpoint, isn't what Caden Proctor is or Deontay Lawson when healthy. I don't think he's got, day 1 NFL talent necessarily, but I think he's just a really good, steady player. And I think, his veteran leadership has been really important to Alabama, especially this offseason.
And Clint, this was going to be one of my partners, childhood friends from the city of Tuskegee, one of your teammates, Mr. Alfonso Lee, right here.
That's a name I haven't heard in forever.
That's my guy, man. Now I'm glad he came up in here, man, because that was gonna be one name. I'll be like, man, do you know a man by the name of Alfonso Lee?
I do. That man, it's good hearing that name. So you know him?
Childhood from the sandbox, all the way up.
That's a man. I tell you what, man. That the whole 10 plus years ago, I just never thought. I mean, I guess I did, but I don't know. Getting old's weird because it's like that's just a name that it's like when man at one point that was a name that like was almost that was so long ago that was almost the same amount of time I've been alive. Like that's just that at that time. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, man, crazy that I'm getting to that point now where I've almost been out of high school as long as I was alive during that. Like that's just weird to me. I'm about to be 35, so hit that 36 point and we'll be there. But yeah, that's cool, man. I did not know that.
Oh yeah, man. That's my guy.
Making connections here at Sharp Shooters Podcast. Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, send this out.
Oh yeah,
you only
man.
get that type of stuff here.
Oh yeah, man. And of course, man, I just want to thank you just for even coming up here, man, getting to know you, and of course, getting to know you each and every day. Just the work that you do, man, is amazing. Like I say, man, we shout you out on this channel, on Coach Sean channel, Piano Man's channel, Coach Carr channel, all the time, man. We respect your work, and a lot of people do respect everything that you're doing, man. Just keep on going, man.
I appreciate y'all so much. I mean, like, I love hopping on here because I like people. If I find somebody and I like listening to them, because I mean, it's like I do sports all day, every day, and so I love the different lanes y'all will go down, and it's a different kind of sports talk. I don't think people are getting this kind of sports talk too many places. It's ball talk. You learn stuff, and I love that. I mean, Coach Sean, you've taught me things for sure.
Likewise, brother.
But it definitely, I very much enjoy what you guys are doing too. And anytime, I mean, I will say, I've been invited places and sticking around for an hour and 40 minutes. I promise you, I could not and would not do this at very many places. I can assure you. So, yeah, definitely take that as a compliment.
Oh man, high praise. I heard it here first. You heard it here. I'm taking that one, man.
Clip that.
Oh yeah, I'm clipping that one, man.
Look, before we announce our channels, let me say
ahead,
too, Clint, thank you, brother. You know, you are one of the guys out there, man. Ty Hayes is our guy. Like that's our guy, man. Ty is that's all of our guy, man. And you know, to link with you through Ty, you was always one of the guys we watched, you know, and when Ty knew you, we was like, really? And it was just like, because we all just like talking ball, brother. That's all. That's why me and these core guys get along. We just love talking football. That's all. Just
water cooler.
Water cooler. That's it, man. So thank you, man. Thank you so much for being a part of it, man. We appreciate you. The chat appreciates you. And we'll continue to support you. Fact.
I appreciate you guys. And anytime, man. I love talking with you guys, and we'll have to do something else before the season gets kicked off for sure.
Yes, sir.
Ted, you got anything to say before we
Yeah, man. I just appreciate being on here with you, man. I don't know how many podcasts you get to do with an Auburn fan, but
not many.
I hope I made it easy on you.
First of all, you did, and second of all, considering how it started, because as soon as they said you was an Auburn fan, I was like, man, bad respect for you, because I thought this could have went south quick. Because
it's all good. Have you looked in the chat? Trust me, it's all good.
Yeah, I'll be owning.
But yeah, man, I'm obviously an Auburn fan, so I don't keep up with a lot of Alabama content. But I call you like one of my fact checkers. So if I see something online and I'm like, I don't know if that's true or not about Alabama football, go look and see if Clint said something about it.
I mean, I wouldn't recommend fan bases of fans of other teams going to my Twitter, because I do like to have fun, and if I see a chance to throw a jab, and it's always playful, I mean, I just decided a long time, and people will get on me and be like, "Oh, you're so unprofessional," like, and that's like, I've been doing this since the Stone Age, man. That's how I decided that I wanted to do it. I wanted to kind of bring as much of the analytical side and be informative and enjoy the talking ball, but I also wanted to bring a little bit more of the fan. I wanted to have fun. You know, I feel like a lot of times I talk to enough people behind the scenes that do this for a living too, that don't say what they really want to say. And so I never wanted to be that guy. So, but at the same time, it gets me in trouble sometimes with opposing fan bases. So if I said anything that has offended you on there, I will say in this setting, I apologize. Probably would not say.
He probably heard word from us.
I don't get offended either.
Well, good, because that's exactly why I'm doing it. I mean, we're having fun, man.
Yeah.
Okay, Clint, I promise you, this is literally the final question. I'm glad Latoya asked this. She said something about Harold Perkins, and I think she's seen it on a podcast. They said they moving Harold Perkins from linebacker to safety or something like that. Have you heard
Wait, what? Okay, the star position. I get. They're moving him further away from the football.
Yeah, that doesn't make no sense to me.
I want to see. Did you hear anything like that?
I know he quick, but man,
but I mean, and you can use the. I mean, one of the most fun things I've ever seen was that Mississippi State game. Mike Leach, he was begging Alabama, like the way that they were playing. They were. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, they were dropping 8 quite a bit because Mississippi State back then, they just wanted to throw the football. And so he kept trying to run the football and run them out of some of those looks they were given. And all Nick Saban started doing, or, Pete Golding or whoever it was, just started saying, let's send Brian Branch from that star position, just have him crash. And he was wreaking havoc in that game. One of the most, like, so if he plays with his hair on fire coming off the edge and stuff, like, it's just, I mean, I understand you've got a problem because he was such a talented guy, or is a talented guy, but the lack of length and the lack of size, he was just probably never going to be given the opportunity to be an edge in the NFL. But I just think they should have kept developing him there. And when he first started bringing that up, I thought you were going to say they're moving him from off ball back more on ball. And I'm like, that's not great for his NFL outlook, but I think for college and stuff and getting the most impact out of them, that would help him the most. And then to hear you say they're going in the opposite direction, which star is, like I said, I mean, you can do some things there. And I mean, the athleticism, I don't know. I don't think they're doing him justice. Very much appreciative of Alabama staff, because when you've got these kind of unicorns like a Jahad Campbell that can do so many different things, the ones who can properly utilize those guys and all of those different abilities and really make it an advantage for your defense, a chess piece. You got to appreciate the people who can do that. And that's offense too, because not everybody can. And Harold Perkins is kind of a perfect example of that, because where he was trending, I'm like, I don't care if the guy's 190 pounds. He's going to be doing something on Sundays. And now, I mean, I still think he probably will, but just a lot of that hype has died unfortunately.
Well, y'all, the great Clint Lamb blessed us with his presence today. So thank you, brother, man. Usually around this time, we let everybody shout out their channel. I dropped the link down there to make sure everybody go subscribe to it. And of course, since you being our special guest, you get to go first.
Yeah, covercrimson.com is the message board community that we've got going on. That's where I do a lot of my written stuff, and we're going to be cranking that up with obviously SC Media Days and college football right around the corner. And then you can go to YouTube, Cover Crimson, or podcast. I always forget that nowadays. We're definitely hitting the podcast side of it. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all you got to do is search Cover Crimson Podcast Network. You got to do that podcast network to get the right one. We screwed it up the first time. It's Cover Crimson, so you'll see that we haven't posted an episode on there since like November or something. Got to be Podcast Network to get that right. But or you can follow me on Twitter at Clint R. Lamb if you want more of the fan having fun with it side.
And everybody, their links will be in the comment section. So please go over there and support. It costs $0 and 0 cents to support somebody. So appreciate it, Clint.
It's Tez from SC season again. First of all, I do want to say something to the chat, man. Like y'all, I'd be cracking up and laughing at the jokes that y'all put in the chat, man. Please don't stop. I tell these guys like I can't do two things at one time, so I can't type in the chat and talk on here at the same time. I got to get better at that. But don't think I don't see the comments. Y'all are hilarious, man. Some of them are really creative. But yeah, you find me at It's SC Season on here on YouTube and on Twitter. It's at It's SC Season, and my personal page is at Cold Name Tez on Twitter. Yeah, you can find me there.
Cool, man, much love to the chat, man. Much love to everybody who tapped in. Everybody, Michelle, Eric D, Kimberly, just everybody. And make sure everybody goes subscribe to Cover Crimson, man. Please subscribe, follow Clint if you want the great Bama news, man. I promise you won't go wrong. Much love to all of our partners, man. Much love to Ty Hayes. Much love to Jan 716, Coach Carl, Coach Al, Piano Man out there, Piano Man in the chat, KB in the chat, John from my brother John over at Bama Standard, all the guys at Bama Standard, our brother Clint Lamb, Justin Smith, everybody, Marvin, all them boys. Any of these guys are doing great Bama content, man. Much love to you all. We appreciate you, and you can definitely find me. We about to ramp the content back up, like I said. Just my humble opinion. That's all this is. I'm no insider. Don't want to be no insider. I just like talking football. That's it. Just my humble opinion. JMHO Sports Talk on Twitter and YouTube.
And of course, y'all, I am Brinsky Sharp of the Sharpshooter Sports Talk. Appreciate everybody coming in and joining the show and all that. Shout out to my wife. Shout out to my baby that came in here bothering me, but let me pod for at least an hour and some change before I went and laid her down. So shout out to my baby, Justice. Shout out to BT for joining. Clip, man, appreciate you for the membership, man. Appreciate everybody just for always supporting and finally getting over 1,000 subscribers. So thank you. Couldn't get here without you guys. And the help from of course you, Coach Sean, Tez, Clint, Ty, Piano Man, endless amounts of people that help get this channel to this point, and we only gonna keep going up. And y'all already know.
Hey, you forgot to ask the chat what they want to be called.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to do it another show, man. They weren't getting me on. I knew it was gonna be hard, man, because we had Clint here, and I wanted to get Clint. So yeah, I get him on the next show.
Sharpshooters.
Yeah, could be. But
simple.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it is simple. But appreciate everybody. Y'all already know. Forever and a day. F them trees forever. All forever, always. That's why I said, Clint, don't feel bad for him. He heard it worse from us. He's had it worse from us. But y'all make sure y'all have a good night and roll damn tide.